This episode is sponsored by the online Shockwave course, which is powered by the PhysiQuip Academy. Now, at PhysiQuip, we are really passionate about educating our clients into how to use the technology, and that is why we've devised the online Shockwave course. So if you're looking at implementing this technology into your clinic, you're unsure of how to do so, the course is going to provide you with bite-sized educational pieces on how to implement it, how to get your team upskilled, what to use it for, different indications. So check that out, and we really thank the PhysiQuip Academy and the online Shockwave course for sponsoring the podcast. Hello, in this episode I sat down with Nick Knight, who is the founder and podiatrist at NK Active. It's a really cool setup on the south coast of England. We talked about what it's like to run a practice, the future of healthcare, and also we talked about his lunch club, which is all about educating the next generation and the current generation in terms of MSK rehabilitation. Nick's really forward thinking, and I really enjoyed the chat, and I hope you do too. Nick, great to see you here. Thank you for seeing your great premises.
No, thank you for driving down from north to south.
Always a pleasure, always a pleasure. So we've been chatting for a long time now, and what I find really interesting is that you're doing a lot more than just running a clinic here. Could you just talk to me a bit about what your setup is?
Yeah, so we're based in the south of England, and our setup here is we're a team of podiatrists and graduate sports rehabilitators, but with really heavy focus on the rehab and the injury management side of things, and also now getting more into sort of more proactive healthcare, as it were. So we're seeing more people come to us now. You turn around and say, I haven't actually got an injury, but in 10 years time I still want to be walking or doing my sport and exercise. What do I need to do now to give myself the best possible chance? And everything we do is all around about helping people move forward and keep achieving their goals. And we use data to help guide whether our services are working or not. So every interaction we have, we audit all the processes. We audit from the patient who comes to see us, what are their goals, did we achieve them at the end, and then what happens with them 6, 12 and 18 months after they finished with us. So we know with the service we put together, if you come see us, there's a 97% chance we can help you achieve your goal. It will take us 15 weeks, and it will on average 5 sessions, and people will leave with a pain score of 0.8, I think it is on average over the last year. And we know at 6, 12 and 18 months, 95% of people are still doing all the activities they want to do after they finished with us.
Right, now that's great to have that data to back up. And where has that methodology come from?
Trial and error, really. It's a case of, I've always had a passion for rehab and helping people get back to activities that they want to do, which, having a podiatry background and Bachelor of Science, was a bit of a not so normal journey to then take through it. So then I went and done my Masters, which was a split podiatry Masters and rehab Masters, all amalgamated into one, really. And we then started thinking and speaking to patients about, okay, you've had rehab before, why hasn't it worked in your opinion? And a lot of the time there was a lack of direction, a lack of progression, a lack of understanding. So I sort of thought to myself, right, let's put this package together and let's start testing it. So then we know that, right, you're going to come see us. We're going to see you 5 sessions over 3 to 4 months, and these are the intervals we're going to see you at. Leave it longer between each appointment. And people just found by doing that, they felt they had some accountability, and they were being consistent with their exercises we were giving them to do at home. And I'm a big believer that when you come to do any form of rehab, almost the exercise you give someone isn't the most important part. Consistency is absolute key. And when we found we put it together as a package, people just understood it better, and they were like, okay, I know what I need to do. I know I need how to progress it. I know how to now take control of this myself. And then we use our data just to fine tune things. So there was no sort of science originally used to set it up. It was one of these things, I think this could work. Let's go and let's just test it and then use the data to fine tune it. And we've now got the service where we are now.
It's very good. And I was reading about something similar to that, the lean startup, about try something, see if it works, refine it, and so on. So no, that's interesting. And like we were talking previously about, data is brilliant, but trying to pick the right data. So like I'm sports science background, we work with a lot of research institutions, and people do get caught up a lot in what's the evidence, what's the data. What's your standpoint on that?
I think it's changing. So we used to use this to evidence-based practice, but now actually the correct term is evidence-informed practice. So you use evidence to inform your practice, but you've got to make sure, well, the data you're using is actually relevant to the cohort you're seeing. There's no point looking at data on Achilles tendon rehab protocol that was done out of America on people ages between 18 and 25, when actually all you see in clinic are people the age of 60 who aren't elite athletes. So that doesn't really work. So this is why, again, we started collecting our own data in clinic. And we sat down with, excuse me, some of the academics from Southampton University and some of the professors to say, this is what we're seeing in clinic. These are the questions we want answering. Actually, when you look at a lot of the outcome measure tools, they don't actually fit the demographic and why patients are coming to see us. A lot of people, I think, perceive that pain is the primary motivator. I think pain is a motivator to seek treatment, but when we sit down and ask patients, it's not their number one goal. They'll say, look, I don't mind if it niggles in the background, but my number one goal is to get back to doing activity and stay there. So if you're using pain as your primary outcome tool, you're using the wrong tool to answer a question. So we've ended up developing our own set of questions that we've then used that work for our cohort of patients to then help collect that data and then guide where we need to get to. Because I think in healthcare, especially in podiatry and physio land, and I should imagine in sports therapy land, we have to move away from, I'm doing this because I've done it and it's worked for me for the last 30 years. Unfortunately, that doesn't really wash. If you're trying to have a service commissioned, or you're trying to get investment or something, you can't just say it works because I know it works. Someone's always going to ask, well, how do you prove it's going to work? And we need to move away from this fear of, if data shows something doesn't work, that doesn't mean something's bad. It just means we need to change, need to tweak, need to adjust. So if we develop something and our data shows it's not giving us the outcome we want, we're like, okay, let's just sit back, work out what do we need to adapt and change, and then retest. But I think in healthcare, it's this built into us that doing something wrong is always bad. Well, no, I don't think it is bad. I think it's just, it creates an opportunity to learn, really.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, because I think there is a very much the case of people do not want to be seen to be doing something wrong or do something wrong, which is understandable, but that doesn't always encourage and foster people trying new things and just trialing different things. So how do you think we move away from that?
I think there's an element of, we just need to try and be honest and truthful to ourselves. So if I see a patient and we're not the right outfit, because we've got our cohort, we've got our data, we know which type of patients we can help. We're not for everyone, our service isn't for everyone. But if we see someone who we can't give the treatment they want, or our treatment is not working, we'll happily turn around and say, we're not right for you, or I don't know what's going on, I need to refer you to a colleague who's got a bit more specialism around this area, or I think they've got a few more tools at their disposal which are going to be helpful for them. As a general rule of thumb, the reason we have the rehab package is 5 sessions, because at the end of that session, at the end of those 5 sessions, there should be a significant change. If there's not, it's either we got the diagnosis wrong or the treatment's wrong, and we need to either refer on or go back to square one because it's not working. I think we need to move on from this mentality of, right, we must see you every 4 weeks for the next 5 years, because you're not actually, in my opinion, helping someone. But for that, it takes courage and bravery to turn around and and do that because you may be worried you're going to lose revenue in your business, or you're telling a patient you can't help them, that they're going to think, well, this person's a load of rubbish. Well, actually, when I've told patients we're not right or I can't help you, I need to refer you on, they're like, thank you for being honest.
Yeah. And how have you seen the expectations of the client change over the last few years? Because we've seen business and the private market change a lot, but how have you seen it interacting with patients?
We've seen a shift, not an expectation of what people want from treatment, but actually a shift in what people expect they have to do to manage their own health. Since the pandemic, we've seen a shift in people taking ownership of their health better and realise that, do you know what, if we need to make a change, I need to play a vital role in this change. As we'll say to all our patients that come through the door, is that we can help guide you. We're not here to fix you. We don't fix anyone. You'll do that yourself. The body will do it itself. We're just here to help you, guide you along that journey. And we use an analogy of like a roadmap, and we're here to help make sure to navigate you from A to B in the safest, most efficient route for you. But it's a case of, do you know what, sometimes we've got to take a detour. And I think if you manage those expectations and you explain that, so when we go through that rehab process, we'll say to people, do you know what, you're going to get a flare up along the way. It's not bad, don't panic, don't worry. Then when it happens, no one's thinking, oh my God, this is horrendous, it's not working, I must stop. They say, actually, no, it's annoying, but Nick did say this was going to happen. So it is okay, I am okay. So it's that reassurance. And I think there's a lot of education to be done out there around that rehab journey, that rehab process. And this is why when you come to see us for the first time, we won't start a rehab journey there and then. It's all this case of, right, this is what we need to focus on over time. This is the plan we're going to do. This is what we can expect from you. This is what you can expect from us. So there's really clear boundaries and goals laid out from the word go. I think if you don't do that, you're possibly setting yourself up to fail before you've even started.
Yeah, and you mentioned as well before that you've got sports rehabbers working here and in your practice. Again, stunning practice, absolutely love it. So how do you, what's your recruitment policy? So when you're looking to expand, add to the team, how do you go about that?
So for me, it's all about the person, not the skills or the qualification. So for me, if you're someone doing rehab, I don't mind if they're a physio, podiatrist, sports rehab person, sports therapist. When patients come to see us, they don't actually care about the qualification. They care about, can you help me achieve my goal? As long as they've got a qualification that is suitable, in my opinion, then it's about the individual. So I know some physios that are better at rehabbing the foot than some podiatrists. I know some podiatrists that are better at rehabbing the knee than the physio. No one qualification, no one profession has ownership of a body part, as it were, in my opinion. And I think it's more of a case of it comes down to that individual and helping select the right person that going to work best in the team. And it's a two-way street. It's got to be the right person for us, and we've got to be the right clinic for them as well. So a lot of the time it comes down to speaking to people. So a lot of the time, I have been known in the past not to do formal interviews. I have been known in the past of just say, come spend the day with us in clinic, chat to the admin team, chat to the rest of the clinicians. And then at the end of the day, we can sit down and say, actually, how does this person interact? How do they, or if you turn around and say, actually, do you know what, I don't want to come spend the day with you in clinic, then that tells me a message that we may not be the right fit for one another.
Yeah, no, I think I like that, like moving away from the formal stuff, because it's looking at a CV, standard interviews, you don't get to know the person, and that is ultimately the business that we're all in.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and it's as well as doing your clinic, you've also got the lunchtime club as well. So how did that come about?
The lunch club come about, can't even remember. It's one of those things, we were sat over lunch talking about CPD and how we get a lot of requests to help people and educate them. And I was just chatting to someone, and I sort of said, maybe we should just start doing some bite-sized CPD and see what people think of it. And someone just said to me, the Lunch Club, and I thought, do you know what, I like that name. It's great. And we just sort of come out, right, let's just use technology to be our friend, because not everyone can go and do face-to-face stuff, whether that's time commitment, time out of clinic, costs, whatever. There's a large barrier in place to doing face-to-face CPD conferences. So what we decided is, well, actually, let's talk about what we do in clinic. Use Zoom, use my iPhone as a camera, do a presentation, but then sort of like, well, if I'm going to talk about assessing a foot, actually get one of the team to hold the camera, move it around, almost like first person point of view type thing of just me assessing a foot. So you can actually see like I would do it in clinic. So it's really interactive, really close up, really practical. And it's just been really, really well adopted. And we got some changes coming where it's actually going to be called the MSK Lunch Club. Now we're going to keep the Lunch Club format of the bite-sized 1 hour CPD, but then we've then also got our snacks, which are going to be short 1 hour CPD by guests. And then we've got our main meals, which are going to be longer CPD sessions, courses that are going to take you maybe a couple of days to go through. So you then get a collection of everything, but the aim is everything's going to be delivered in that practical sense, because the feedback we got from it, why people like it, is that we're taking the research, we're implementing it in our practice, and we're showing people how do we then use it in practice that they can then use the next time they're in clinic.
Yeah, it's really cool. Education is absolutely pivotal in everything we're doing. And but for you, like, you seem very clear whenever I've interacted with you. Clear, you know what you want, you know what you like. You're doing the clinic here, which is a great setup. You're doing this now. Like, what drives you to do what you're doing?
So I'm going to be completely honest. I think as a whole in the UK, we aren't very good at delivering musculoskeletal healthcare. I think the resources we've got in this country, I just don't think we do it well enough. And everything was set up because I thought, let's try and change things. Let's try and do things better in a different way. And that's what drives me to do it. And the education is a large part of that, to say there must be a better way to help these people get back to activity quicker, or help them get back in and stay in. And this isn't me saying, because I've had many debates about NHS v private practice, and I'm of the mindset, and I've actually had conversations with NHS England about how we just need to stop this argument, NHS or private. We've both got one common goal: to help patients, to help people, but different aspects of delivering healthcare may be better suited to one entity rather than another. And with musculoskeletal healthcare, it's difficult because there is no black or white answer. It's so, if you see of someone 10 Achilles tendinopathies in a day, every management plan is going to be different for every single patient, because people's work commitments, beliefs, previous experiences, medical history, injuries, all that takes into consideration how is that someone going to go through that journey. And it's to be able to spend time with those people and help educate them and make it personalised and put them at the centre of it. And that allows us the time to do all that. And this is why we set everything up to say, look, it can be done in a better way. I'm one of these people that I will happily not moan about things or voice my opinion, but I'm a believer of, well, you've got no right to voice your opinion unless you're actually willing to do something about it. So this is me saying, I think the current ways of doing things maybe aren't the best. I've come up with a different idea, and this is my version of it. Now, I may be completely wrong, but I'm not afraid to give it a go.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good attitude to do so. And like, how are you using and how are you looking at technology and AI in terms of helping you do that?
Yeah, so the benefit of, and I had this conversation with NHS England about the benefit of why they wanted to chat to us, is being a smaller private clinic, the big thing, we haven't got resources like the NHS has or bigger private companies have. But we also haven't got 10 managers in place before making a decision. We can be very agile. And I love technology and always looking at how can we make the experience better, not just for patients, but for the team working within the company as well. So we're now using AI in clinic that records our consultations. That means it does all our clinical notes for us. So the benefit of that, it saves the clinicians time, so we can spend more time with our patients. It reduces the risk of errors. Now, I'm severely dyslexic, so the amount of times the patient leaves, I'm like, was it left foot or right foot? Really can't remember. But I've got that there for me. It then allows us to have our notes, but then create a summary that is jargon free for patients. I still don't understand the reason why in medicine we use all this jargon. Even when I'm speaking to colleagues, I'll just use plain English because everyone understands it. I don't see this need to sit there and use long, complex medical words when we don't actually need to. So our reports we do to patients are very basic, but they understand them. Sometimes I think there's an element of we use big long words because it makes us perceive to be better or something. I just don't buy into that. But yeah, tech's a great big thing. We're now looking at ways to help using tech and AI to manage our email and inboxes better. And then tech during the rehab. It's like we have the Run 3D in clinic as well, which for sort of declaration viewpoints, I am a sort of an advisory member for them, but it's a tool that helps portray gait analysis data in a simple way that people understand. But then this is why we then sort of got introduced by a mutual friend around the strength by numbers kit. And yes, we've been using a Lafayette in clinic for 7-8 years now, and I'm a big believer that strength testing equipment should be in every musculoskeletal healthcare setting. But what using now cloud-based storage and kits that sync and automate together, it just makes everything seamless. There's no data entry anymore. There's no risk of errors in data. You can pull the data off and you can have a look at a cohort of patients and looking at, okay, let's have a look at all the people who presented with plantar heel pain and see, are there any patterns in the data? What strength trends are we seeing? What exercises are we prescribing, not prescribing? So it allows us to then really hone in and see, are we delivering the service that we say we are delivering the service? But the most important thing, it makes it really accessible to patients in a way that you can present data in a very, very clear way. Like the very simple one-page report that I believe was really designed for sort of personal trainers, I think is perfect for a patient. If you do all your tests on one page of A4, it maps you against other people that have done the tests and it gives you a red, amber, green. And when we show that to patients, they're like, yes, I get it, I understand. And that helps that emotional buy-in. If you get that emotional buy-in and people understand why you're asking them to do something, I'm a big believer your compliance level goes up. Your compliance level goes up, your consistency increases. You get that consistency, you're onto a winner. If you haven't got that consistency, it doesn't work. That's again going back to the first question of why introducing the rehab package is because it helps people drive that consistency. And you need that consistency, and you need people to have a mindset shift on what exercise is about to get that long-term change.
Yeah, I think it's great that you're genuinely looking to push the industry forward, challenge it, because I feel like that's my goal as well, as we're coming more from the tech side and the education surrounding that. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we have when we're engaging with clinic owners like you, and I mean I've met some of your team who are great, but is trying to, you're forward thinking, but how do you get the general clinician to buy into that as well, and to change what they've done before and look into different ways? And again, it's moving into that sales element of things, which is people don't really like having to be seen to be selling something.
I think education is the way forward, is educating clinicians on how it can benefit a clinic. And it's not benefiting with regards to pounds and pence to begin with, it's benefiting on actually the service you can offer. I'm a big believer, if you offer a great service and you've got someone who can help market it for you, the pounds and pence then take care of it itself. Because you don't actually need to sell it, because it sells itself on. But I think educating people about, okay, this is how we can help make your patient's experience better. We can help you get better outcomes. I think that's the way forward. And I think actually it comes down to actually speaking to other clinicians who actually use the kit, so you get a sort of a real life snapshot. What's it like on the coal face? Because the issue of some products is you see the glossy brochure, you see it working in a perfect lab-based scenario, but actually how does it work when in a real life setting where things don't always go to plan? And we've been using the strengths by number stuff, and we've tested it, and we've tried to throw a few curveballs at it, but it is just so quick, simple, easy to use. Like little things like there's no on and off switch. You just turn it on, get your tablet ready, go, and it's ready. It just works. There's no syncing issues. So that's another barrier broken down, is that you haven't got to be a tech genius at all to work the kit. And then you then start using it, and then you then start seeing patients engaging with it. And even when we put someone with a team through it, they come and say, well, we can see that I need to work on here. Okay, how do I do this? So you get that vested interest, you get that emotional buy-in, and I think it does really, really change how healthcare is delivered in the musculoskeletal world. But it's going to take time for that change to happen. But education is at the forefront of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, fully agree on that, and it's going to be great working with you on that going forward. And then last question, what would your advice be to your younger self? Where you are now, what would you say to yourself?
My younger self would have been, is to start embracing some of the technology earlier, but also is to make the most out of the senior people and the experienced people around you. Go and spend as much time as you can with the senior clinicians in your area, and go and ask them about their journey, and ask them what worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, and just learn and just be that sponge and just try and absorb, because there are no shortcuts. With AI and everything, I think we run the risk of people wanting to take shortcuts with regards to delivering healthcare, and my experience tells me there is no shortcuts, because the one thing technology can't give you, it can't give you years experience. And you can have the best knowledge in the world, but if you haven't got the experience on how to use it, it's not going to be relevant for your patients. So go and speak to those experienced people, learn, be that sponge, improve yourself, and don't be afraid of technology.
Like it. Brilliant, Nick. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and I look forward to doing some more work with you.
And you.
Thank you.